With the latest on this, as you've been following it, you've been talking about with the forecasters there, what more are you learning now, John?
Yeah, good afternoon, Melissa. We've been watching every wobble in the storm's track here minute by minute. And a couple of things to note here. First of all, maximum sustained winds of 145 miles per hour. So this is a intense Category 4 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson wind scale with a pressure of 935 millibars. But look at the movement. It's northeast at 17 miles per hour. And we've been watching for any signs of that movement to slow down, because oftentimes if the movement slows down, that can be a sign that it might be trying to take a turn more to the east. But so far the motion, we've not seen that. And if anything, the forward motion of the storm has continued to increase. And the direction of the storm, it's still moving north. It's actually moving north of east. And that has been also a concern because it continues to gain latitude. And the more it's able to do that, the more risks there will be for significant impacts in the Tampa Bay area. So that's something that we're continuing to monitor. Either way, the water levels are starting to increase, and we're going to be dealing with a major problem here with this landfalling hurricane. This storm is going to rewrite the coastline in some areas in terms of just how significant this storm surge is going to be.
And John, you've been talking about following that storm and where it's going to be. Has eyewall replacement cycles had any issues and challenges here of finding out exactly how far north or east that turn has been?
Well, these types of storms, well-established storms, do go through those eyewall replacement cycles, Melissa, as you mentioned, where they sort of reestablish a different internal configuration, and that sometimes can be a factor when we're looking at those little wobbles from time to time. So the question is always, is it just a temporary wobble because hurricanes always have those as long as they're moving along, or is it a more defined shift to the east? And we just have not seen that yet, and that's why our concern is growing about those great impacts that we've been talking about in the Tampa Bay area, great impacts in terms of high impacts from storm surge, and that's a very serious concern.
And the storm surge map is behind you now. Again, we do have areas that are 15 plus feet of storm surge.
That's right. We very rarely put that on the map. Look at that, 15 to 20 foot of storm surge from parts of Tampa Bay down to Sarasota and Venice, and also a significant surge of 10 to 15 feet all the way down to Fort Myers. And remember, the west coast of Florida has all these bays and inlets and tidal rivers, and that Gulf of Mexico water, it's almost like a tsunami that's going to arrive here and start inundating the coastline, immediate coastline, and right into those tidal rivers and bays. And that's why it's so dangerous, and people need to be out of those areas where there's a mandatory evacuation in place.
And we talk about water coming down from this storm, so it's not just pushing in from the Gulf, it's also falling from the sky.
And big amounts of rainfall. Don't let your guard down on this, especially along into the north of the track of the storm, from Tampa to north to Daytona Beach to near Jacksonville. 12 to 18 inches of rain with an AccuWeather local storm max of 30. Some of this rain, Melissa, is going to be coming down at the rate of 3 to 4 inches per hour. That's too fast, too furious. That's why we're talking about major life-threatening flash flooding from this rain along and north, especially of Interstate 4.
And we'll hit on one more thing, John, because we've talked about this as a major hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale, which solely goes by winds. What do these winds, when you see a map like this, what does that mean to you?
Well, the first thing that strikes me is just how much of the Florida Peninsula is going to be dealing with damaging winds. And look at the core of the wind, of wind gusts of 100 to 120 miles per hour near Tampa, down toward Bradenton and even toward Port Charlotte. But it goes east toward Orlando. There can be wind gusts to near 100 miles per hour in Orlando. This destructive wind will be coming right inland along the I-4 corridor. Look for numerous and long-lasting power outages to Orlando and even over to Daytona Beach, as well as considerable damage from these destructive winds.